Everybody, what's up? Ultramag64 here, and what you're about to listen to, and possibly watch, if you're so inclined, is a video that never was, or never was going to be. It basically was my attempt at an ad, not sponsored by the way, but it was just my attempt at making a fan-made ad for the campaign of the Fallout Equestria audiobook. Now, if you guys have been around the channel for, 5 seconds, then you'll know that I am a big fan of not only Fallout, but the show My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. In fact, if you're watching this, you probably are a fan of either one of those, or both, as well. And so, I took it upon myself. Again, no one contacted me from the campaign or anything like that. No one associated with it. I just was seeing this awesome thing, and at the time, it was about halfway through its goal, and it wasn't really making any headway. Granted, since the campaign's finished, it has reached its goal and is going to be made a thing, which is really kind of cool. Especially because I love Fallout Equestria. I wouldn't mind seeing a voice actress take on the mantle of Little Pip a little bit. Granted, my voice for Little Pip is always going to be from the radio play that Equestria Broadcast Company did.
Another pony steps in, unbeknownst to Little Pip.
Oh dear, is it really that bad?
What? Velvet!
Velvet Remedy, Stable 2's favorite music pony. Her melodious singing has gained her adoration from many of the stable residents, not the least of them Little Pip. And, in truth, Little Pip has been quite smitten with Velvet for a while now.
No, pull yourself together. What was it that Mom would always say? Little Pip, Velvet's barn door doesn't swing that way.
It took me a few years to figure that one out.
But, oh goddesses, Velvet, standing right here. All of her songs right here on my Pip book, but the real deal is standing right in this room,
Little Pip?
With you, what?
Oh, wonderful response, Pip.
So elegant. Yes, I'm sorry, I was a little out of it. Could you repeat that?
Oh, Little Pip.
But, regardless, what I decided to do was kind of make a radio-style announcement. And keep in mind, this was while I was currently reading Fallout Equestria myself. Granted, I've gotten much further in it. I'm almost done with it. I'm at the tail end. But at the time, I didn't know a few things about a certain DJ of the Wasteland. And I kind of tried to fluff it up after the fact of learning the truth about our favorite pony of the airwaves. And I just really kind of didn't like it. There were a few things I didn't like. For starters, as much as I do, voiceover work on Let's Plays and whatnot, I don't actually like my voice. It's just something I have a bit of a problem with. It goes back to my whole self-worth thing and thinking I'm never good enough for anything, so that's partially why I never released this. Also, the fact that there were a couple scenes that I couldn't get any sort of anything to show on it, really. I had a few ideas, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a parallax scrolling image or anything like that, but by the time I had gotten around to trying and doing that, the campaign had already ended, so I really didn't see a point in making it. The only reason I'm honestly releasing this video as it is, well, because it's cluttering up my desktop and I'm tired of looking at it. So I decided to release it. Keep in mind, this was never finalized, this is not finished. This gives you guys an idea of what the creative process is, and kind of when something doesn't just pan out the way you want it to. I don't know, maybe I'll do something with it. Honestly, what I really wouldn't mind doing would be, once the audio play, or well, not audio play, but once the audio book is actually done, I might buy it, and then edit it. Granted, I'd have to make sure it's okay with the creators and whatnot. I wouldn't want to step on any toes. But one thing, as I was editing this, that kept crossing through my mind, especially as I started adding more and more bits from the book into the visual aspects, was I wanted to add sound effects. Now, I'm no audio designer. I have a very amateurish way of doing audio and whatnot, and sound design, and I'm no expert. Which is why I'm, when people ask me, oh, hey, Magus, you're gonna go do that, maybe volunteer for that audiobook? Maybe they'll need you as, like, an extra or something like that. I was like, oh, you sweet child. I am in no way or shape or form any sort of professional at voice works, so that'd probably be a bad thing, considering they're wanting more professional and more experienced people on their team. But needless to say, I wanted to kind of add sound effects to this, such as reverb and echo, for the different environments that Little Pip finds herself and her team in. I feel like that would add a lot more to the immersion, and that's mainly what I do on this channel, is I try to immerse my viewers into the game I'm playing. Sometimes it doesn't always work, and granted, hearing my grating voice in your ear 24/7 probably wouldn't be that good of an immersion tactic, but you work with what you got. So that's why I was kind of interested in the audiobook, is I wanted to add sound effects such as clattering and when Little Pip stomps on like a terminal or something like that, having, electrical sparks and different sound effects like crunching and whatnot happen. Granted, you'd have to mess with the timing of the vocals and whatnot for it to work properly and to properly sync and all that, and it would be a tremendous endeavor. But I've always preferred radio plays over audiobooks. They just immerse me a little bit more, and they're honestly one of my favorite genres to actually have. If I have something to listen to, it's usually an audio play or a podcast. But anyway, guys, enough rambling. I've gone on for, dear goodness, 7 minutes. Without further ado, here is like the 45-second video you clicked on this thumbnail for. Toodles!
This is DJ Pawn 3, and that was newcomer Magnus singing an old classic about a kind of hurt and heartbreak we've all been living since the mega spells dropped. But now, my little ponies, it's time for the news. Y'all remember that little pony who crawled her way out of the vault and crawled right into our hearts? Well, she paid me a visit the other day here at 10 Pony Tower, and I got her to spill the beans about her adventures throughout the wasteland. We decided to record them so we can broadcast them to ponies all across the waste for generations to come. But that kind of horsepower don't come cheap. So why don't you send a few caps our way for the good of Equestria? Now, what should I call this thing? How to Survive the Wasteland? Nah, sounds too similar to another book I know. How about Fallout Equestria? Got a nice ring to it, don't you think? But of course I can't expect you to give me caps unless you see some product. Just not the wasteland way. So here's a little sample of what to come. You know the old saying, don't give your addict all your Mentols. Keep him coming back for more.
If I'm going to tell you about the adventure of my life, explain how I got to this place with these people and why I did what I'm going to do next, I should probably start by explaining a little bit about pip-bucks. What is a pip-buck? A pip-buck is a device worn on a foreleg just above the hoof, issued to every pony in a stable when they become old enough to start work.
Calamity, get back! They're in the ventilation! Calamity backed away at my shout, even as the first creature leapt out, landing on the shelving, spilling a bucket of fuses, crashing to the floor. It looked only vaguely feline, but with scales rather than fur, oversized fangs and cat-like eyes, save that the slits ran horizontally. Somehow, that last part freaked me out the most. I had made the mistake of putting little Macintosh away. When it leapt at me, I didn't have time to draw the gun out or even think. I reacted instinctually, grabbing the creature telekinetically and hurling it away from me, just like with the grenade. Only this time, we were in a small room, and there was no place for it to go, so it just thumped back against the wall, pinned and hissing. A second jumped out, hitting the terminal, and fell to the floor. I raised a hind hoof and brought it down as hard as I could on the creature's head. Rearing up, I treated the one I was pinning to a fatal blow from one of my forehooves. The third jumped right down onto me, claws catching in my mane. I screamed like a little filly, "Get it off! Get it off! Get it off!" I bucked, panicking, sending a hind hoof through the terminal with a crunching of glass and a popping explosion. I could feel the hairs around my hoof singeing. I turned towards the doorway and saw Calamity taking aim. Blam! My mind conjured up a flashback of being wounded and dying, shot multiple times by this very same pony who was swooping down the tracks, aiming at me again. Without thinking, I threw myself to the floor, trying to dodge the shot, a second after Calamity had already fired, ripping the cat-snake thing apart and leaving me unscathed.
And with that out of the way, let's get into the weather. Cloudy everywhere, with a chance of rain, gunfire, and bloody dismemberment. Until next time, my little ponies,